the Sportsocracy.
Next up is the NFC North, the hardest division in football, or at least I feel like it's trending that way if it's not already there.
It's the easiest one in the league to do mock drafts for because none of these teams have a whole mess of picks.
First team picking from the North, the Chicago Bears.
Now, I do have to admit, I did this before I saw the PFF mock draft that had Chicago trading up to 2 to take Abdul Carter. Okay, I'll give you that. If that's
That'd
on
be
the
good.
Excuse me. If that's on the board, you should do that. If Cleveland calls and says, "Hey, we'll give you 2 for 10, 39, and 41," don't call them back.
Mm-hmm.
Just okay, we'll do that right now. Because I look at Chicago, they don't have a ton of needs either, but the needs they do have are at positions that are really deep in this class. So you need an edge. In that scenario, you could go up and get the best edge in this class. You need a running back. You need a slot receiver. I still think you need a linebacker, a corner, and a guard. And when I say a guard, I mean a younger guard that you develop over time. I can deal with every bit of that later in this class. So if that's on the board, I do that. Do you
Trade
agree
up
or
to 2.
disagree?
Trading up to 2?
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to cost me, one of those second-round picks and probably one next year?
Oh, I think it would cost y'all 3 of them.
So we're giving up 39, 41, and a 2 next year.
No, I didn't say anything about a 2 next year. I think it's just the 2s this year.
Oh, okay.
So on the trade value chart, and obviously this is not a set in stone thing.
Right.
You're at 2,600 to get to 2. 10 is 1,300. Yeah, you'd have to give them both up.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd have to give them both up and then some.
Ouch.
But, I mean, I look at Chicago and go, is that not worth it?
I would believe so.
And then if Travis Hunter were to go at 2, all right, now I'm going to get super kooky madookie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Travis Hunter goes at 2 to Cleveland. Then the Giants are on the clock at 3. We all know who they want. Do you not think the Giants would be willing to come down to 10? I don't really think the Saints are in on Shedeur Sanders, and I haven't thought that the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm the Giants, I can go down there and get that much capital to move down 7 spots and still get the guy I want. I'm at least making the call.
Right.
Now, that is not what I did in this scenario. But when I saw it yesterday, I went, oh, that might be A-pluser than mine. Even if it means the rest of your class is a bunch of undrafted free agents, I'm not sure that I care.
Okay. So in your version here, what was the edge rusher that you got at 10?
Mike Green. If I'm taking a guy that's a designated pass rusher, it's going to be Mike Green. James Pierce is not as high on other people's boards as he is on mine. Mike Green's he's 6 overall for me.
Mm-hmm. And, man, him and Montez Sweat together on the same line.
It's not going to be nice. It's
Let's
not what you do to teams. I mean, it's exactly like we talked about with Cleveland, with Garrett and Carter.
Yes.
You got Mike Green and Montez Sweat. I can't tell you you're going to be the greatest run-stuffing team I've ever seen in my life, but by God, you're going to get after quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And before anybody asks, no, Ashton Jeanty, even if he's on the board at 10, is not an A+ for me.
39 in the second round. This is the Carolina pick, the last pick from the DJ Moore trade, the Bryce Young trade.
This is where I get your running back. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa is the one that I have had circled for the Bears basically this entire process because he's the one that reminds me the most of David Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's big, he can run between the tackles, and he's still got that home run hitter speed. Genty's not big enough. Marion Hampton, I like better than all of these guys. But for the role that I know Ben Johnson's going to try to fill, I think Caleb Johnson's the best one that you could take. Then you kind of use DeAndre Swift as a wish version of Jahmyr Gibbs until you can find the guy that actually fits that role.
As I say, your only other options here would be Travion Henderson and Quinshaw Judkins, the two Ohio State guys.
And I don't mind either one of those, but I like Caleb
Swift.
Johnson better than both.
Mm-hmm. Caleb Johnson at number 39. Then the New Orleans Saints have a pick at 40, and then Chicago's back up with their pick at 41.
It appears to me that Keenan Allen is not going to be back in Chicago. So that means you're going to need a slot receiver of some kind, and one of my favorite ones on the board because he's such a mismatch. It's Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. You add Jaden Higgins to DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. How do you defend that?
Mm-hmm.
Short of a lot of Hail Marys and maybe a visit to a priest, I don't know how you would slow that down. Because you got DJ Moore that can play in the slot or on the outside. You got Higgins that can play in the slot or on the outside. The only designated outside receiver you have is Odunze, who is so difficult to defend one-on-one deep because he's so good at setting down in zones over the top. That's as good as you could ever ask for in terms of a receiving corps. And I actually think it would be better than what you had with Keenan Allen last year. Because you're more multiple.
Mm-hmm. You want to give the best weapons possible to your quarterback that, well, you know, he's doing stuff. We'll see what year two has to hold for Caleb Williams, but yeah, I want to get him as many weapons as possible. Jaden Higgins would not be a bad one at all. Let's go to number 72.
72 is where they still have needs, but this is the dead land for linebackers. There just aren't any. I know I'm only going to get one more shot because this is my last pick. So I had 3 in the top 41. I have 72. Between my 3rd and 5th pick, I make one selection between 107 picks. So I have to take a guy that I'm really locked in on being a piece for the long haul. So I went Dylan Fairchild, the guard out of Georgia. This is a guy they had in on a top 30 visit, which makes me think that they already know Joe Thuney is not what they think he's going to be. I think he'll be fine for a year. Probably fine for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's not probably a long-term solution. If he was, Kansas City wouldn't have given him up for nothing.
Yeah.
I get it. The salary cap, yeah, they could have made it work. They just lost a Super Bowl because they could not hold up front, and they give away one of their best offensive linemen. That should perk your ears up. And I'm not saying I don't believe in Thuney. I'm just saying I want a safeguard. And right here at 72, if I don't take one here, there's a great chance I'm not going to get one.
Mm-hmm. Very few coaches and front offices plan for the future. I think better than Kansas City. They had the foresight for the Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and all of those. There's a reason they've tapped out on Joe Thuney.
They'll tap out on a guy a year early. They never tap out on one a year late.
Yes. So Dylan Fairchild out of Georgia's the pick at 72. All right, their next selection comes down
148.
I lost my sheet. 148. Okay.
Another guy they've had in on a top 30 visit, been really popular in the process. I did not necessarily have as high of a grade on this kid as some others have. It took me years to figure this out. But when you start seeing guys that do this many visits, it should tell you something. Now, what that something is varies by the player. This is one that I think he's trying to get out in front of it. It's Nick Martin from Oklahoma State. The tape on him is pretty good. He's just so small. I think he's just a little bit over 5'11". But then you really break him down. He's a missile pass rusher. Absolute missile. He's not great against the run. I would say he's an average cover guy, and he's coming off an injury. So this might be a little bit high, but Tank, have you got your sheet back in front of you?
Yes.
What's the next pick for the Bears?
233.
Okay, I got to wait for a minute.
Just a little bit.
So if I want a guy, I've got 2 picks here. Chicago has one of the weirdest sets of capital I've ever seen. They have 2 picks in 192 selections.
Mm-hmm. So at 233, what's left?
This is a player that I was not necessarily on. I'm not going to say I wasn't on him at all. I was not on him as much until Evan Doyle pointed him out to me. It's Jordan Lodican, the corner from Bowling Green. Doyle's in love with
trait.
Do I know?
I said, what's his best trait?
He was one of 5 corners in all of college football that didn't allow a touchdown this past year as the closest guy in coverage.
That's pretty impressive, regardless of where you play.
He was one of 3 with at least 400 coverage snaps and no touchdowns allowed, according to PFF. He allowed 26 receptions the entire year with a 42.6 completion percentage allowed. He's an absolute ball hawk. The problem is that he does have some athletic deficiencies. At his pro day, he only ran a 4.63. He's only 5'10 and a half, and I think he plays better on the outside than he would play in the slot. But he's a really good football player. If you're one of those teams that I just want to draft good football players and I'll figure out the physical deficiencies from there, that's a kid for you. Also a good time to point out, they were on him. I think they had a local visit with him. I can't remember. There was a reason I had him attached to the Bears.
And their final pick at 240.
I finally get him a defensive tackle with Howard Cross III from Notre Dame. I like the tape on him. He's got a lot of physical deficiencies that are going to preclude him, I think, from ever being – I don't think he could ever be great. Do I think he can be a usable piece in the NFL? Yes, I do.
It is the Sportsocracy A-plus mock drafts for the Chicago Bears. Mike Green, if you can't trade out of the 10 pick and get up to 2 to get Abdul Carter, your best option may be staying at 10 and also take an edge rusher. Mike Green out of Marshall, Caleb Johnson in the second round, Jaden Higgins to throw in there for an extra weapon. Another A-plus effort from at ESPN draft nerd Jeremy Green. We'll return here on ESPN Asheville. The Green Bay Packers up next on today's A-plus mock draft.
Well, I get knocked down, I get back up. The Sportsocracy.